Hello, I'm Ricky, aka the Sorare Mamba, and welcome to a Sorare Thursday Club special. The return of the Premier League is upon us. We can all look forward to rolling out our shiny new in-season Premier League cards, entering those Premier League comps again. I see they're up and running, ready to join. And as always, I am joined by ex-Play Sharper Everton expert himself, Johnny, aka Dornado. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm good. Ex-Play Sharper expert, but soon to be new Sidelines Everton expert. So if you're not subscribed to Sidelines, get on that. But excited to talk about the mighty Toffees. Ready to go. I'm looking forward to a good season this year. I'm positive, which is interesting.
Yeah, as if we don't talk about Everton enough on this podcast, I thought I'd just give you this full show by itself to get it all out your system before the season starts. As you are the expert, so for Sidelines coming up for the new season, and used to be for Play Sharper, and you give it the big one about your Everton knowledge. We're going to use you for the inside scoop on the blue side of Merseyside, see what they can offer us SO5 wise and Sorare wise this season. So let's jump in, and how about we start with the new signings? Who you've got joining the squad this season? Give us the rundown.
Okay, yeah. So we've started to look like a semi-organised football club this summer and made some signings before August, so before pre-season started properly. Managed to get a few of them a full pre-season in. I think we started with buying Tim Erugbenham. I may have completely destroyed his surname there. I still haven't quite got used to saying it yet. So I
wasn't going to say it. I was just going to call him Timmy. So yeah.
So it will come with the season as it goes along. But different one this one because it actually doesn't seem to have any cards produced yet, despite I think the other 4 transfers we made after already having cards made in the new season format on Sorare. I think it's probably to do with the fact they still think he plays for Aston Villa on Sorare data. I can guarantee he plays for Everton.
Exactly. I was going to point out his first thing, it says he plays for Aston Villa on Sorare.
So he was part of the deal with us sending Lewis Dobbin the other way, which sort of seemed to raise a few eyebrows across the Premier League. But I'm not going to pretend to tell you that I knew a lot about Tim Erugbenham when we signed him. Okay, I've got quite a good extensive knowledge of all football, not just Everton, but I'd never heard of Tim Erugbenham. He's come in as a young lad, 20 years old. I think he'd played a little bit England youth as well. I think he'd been on loan in the Championship, potentially Stoke. I'm not sure. You'd have to check that one for me. But he's come in and
he's part Rangers. There you go. I can check you straight away.
There we go. So he's come into pre-season and sort of been forced to start a few games because we had a few injuries. So James Garner picked up a little injury. Decore was a bit injured at one point as well. Idrissa Gueye had a little injury, and he has taken his chance. He's looked really, really good. Obviously, we've sold Onana, so there's a gap in midfield there, and he's come in and, to be honest, looks like a much more composed version of Amadou Onana. Onana, I loved. He was a powerhouse. He was great at tackling, but Erugbenham looks to be just the same player and cost a fifth of the cost.
Okay, so we have under 23 until July 1st, 2027, which is obviously good. No cards yet, so it's hard to say whether it'd be value for money on Sorare. But you're going good for Everton in real life, I take it?
Yeah, good for Everton in real life. And I do think he might start the season, with the injuries we've got at the moment in centre mid. So yeah, we'll watch his space.
So good for Sorare potentially as well. That under 23 option as well. If you on that starting space.
Yeah, yet to see how his scores translate to sort of real life. Obviously, wait to see his cards come in. Don't think he played too key a role at QPR and played a few cameos at Villa last season. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, some decent scores there in the Championship at a young age. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see what price he comes in at before we can start saying. But if he gets that spot nailed down, could be interesting. So next up.
So I think the next signing we made was re-signing Harrison on loan. I know it's not exactly, doesn't really get the juices flowing perhaps for a few people, but it's good to get him back in. He's a very good player that can play a couple of positions. He works his absolute arse off as well. If they gave decisive actions for him working his ass off, he'd get a lot of decisives. I think he's been challenged a little bit by Dyche to add a few more goals and assists this season. He actually came to us injured last season, so he missed the entirety of pre-season in the first sort of month, I think, of the season. So he was kind of on the back foot straight off the bat. But this time he's come in, had a full pre-season, started the first game and got 2 assists. Has looked pretty good. Yeah.
So good for Everton in real life?
Yeah, I think he's good for. I'm glad we've re-signed him. He's still on loan, so he's not permanent. I'm not sure he's quite got that strong AA game to be someone that's really worth big bucks on Sorare. Maybe he'll do better this season. I hope he does, obviously. But yeah,
I was going to say £1 for the old card, just under £4 for the new one in limited, 7 and 14 in rare. He's a very steady Eddie, isn't he?
He's a bit steady Eddie, but I think
his scores aren't that peaky. I think without cap modes and all stars and that type of thing, now he's like you wanting to own him has probably gone down a fair bit because you want a bit more of an elite focused team now rather than those sneaky players you can put into like a cap 220, 240 and hope they get decisive.
I'd agree with you.
Excellent. So moving on. Next person I think we signed was Iliman Ndiaye, I believe. Signed from because that's the one I had prepared next.
Right, perfect. So we've been linked with him for a good couple of years now. When he was at Sheffield United, we were getting constant links with him. I think we probably agreed a contract, like personal terms with him a couple of years ago before realising we couldn't spend any money. We were completely screwed PSR-wise. So I think it ended up him going from Sheffield United to Marseille, where he proceeded to get played out of position for the entire season for Marseille. And, didn't go well for him, that move. But let me tell you, he is a freaking good footballer. He looks insane in pre-season. He missed the first couple of games just because we hadn't quite signed him yet. He hadn't quite joined up with the pre-season camp. And then he sort of began to get involved in the last few games, coming off the bench. I think he played 45 minutes in one of the games. But he looks the real deal, to be honest with you. I really like Iliman Ndiaye. I followed him when he was at Sheffield United. He was key to them getting promoted to the Premier League last season, or the season before last, I should say. Obviously, Sheffield United didn't go well in the Premier League, and they sold him before they already got to the Premier League. But yeah, Sheffield United fans, if you're watching this, will know how good a player he is.
Bit of international utility there. Very good. United. Not so great at Marseille, but you're going good in real life.
Good in real life, and I think he will be good for SO5. I think his SO5 is quite low at the moment, his average, just purely because of that's full of Marseille scores where he basically was a bit part player, wasn't really playing in the right position. But yeah, you obviously can look back there as Sheffield United days.
Sheffield United scores here, yeah.
Very good.
Sheffield United look very good, don't they?
Very peaky. And I think he'll be playing the correct position for us. He won't be playing on the wing.
Yeah, so £7 for a new season, £4 for an old season in rare. The new season card's going for about £23.
Good value.
Money, you think?
I'd say good value. And also, despite me saying I would not buy any new season Everton cards, he was my first new season Everton card that I bought.
There's always got to be one, isn't there?
Always got to be one. So yeah, I'm hopeful for a good season from him this year for sure. Okay. And he's signed on a permanent, so he's there. He's there for the long term.
There for a long term. Okay, so rousing success then for Ndiaye. Next up, Jesper Lindstrom.
Yeah, I think Jesper Lindstrom is potentially the next guy up. Obviously, signed on loan from Napoli. Once again, another player that we've sort of plucked on the back of a bad season. As in, like he did really well for Eintracht Frankfurt, got the big move to Napoli, and then sort of hasn't really happened for him at Napoli. I think Napoli on the whole last year, I don't know if you had many Napoli cards. I had a few. They were really bad last season. Went from winning Serie A the season before last to, I don't know where they finished last year, but they were nowhere near the top. So yeah, they had a really bad season in general. But yeah, he's come in. He came in quite late into pre-season, played against Preston last weekend, I think he played against Ray, might have been injured potentially, but only minor knock. But he scored a free kick on his debut against Preston. Players that often score free kicks or score skillful goals for Everton. So it's nice to see someone coming in and doing that straight off the bat. It looks very good. He brings pace, he brings skill, brings a bit of creativity that we perhaps lack a little bit of up top, and can cover a few positions. So yeah, I really like him. I'm happy to have him.
Historically, some very good scores in the past. Last season and the recent history has been absolutely guff from an SO5 point of view. So good for Everton in real life and good for Everton on Sorare. What are your thoughts quickly?
I'd say good.
Just good. Which
we'll see. I'm more excited about Indai than I am Lindstrom, but I still like Lindstrom.
Okay, and we've got tenner for the new season limited and 22 quid for the last rare. Good value?
I think pretty good value, to be honest. I think they could work. Both him and Iliman and Dye could work their way into the starting 11 pretty soon, to be honest with you.
Okay. So you're taking a little bit of a punt with him then, that he gets in there and solidifies a starting spot at that price.
He was my second purchase of an Everton in-season card. So
okay. At least you've bought him. You've backed up your...
I've backed up my claims.
Okay, so you like everyone so far. We move on to Jake O'Brien.
Correct. And I love Jake O'Brien. What a boy. He's quality. He's 6 foot flipping a million. He's built for Sean Dyche. He's like a Sean Dyche love child. Look at him. What a guy. No, he's coming in as someone who is very much dangerous in both boxes. He's great in the air. He's already scored 2 goals in 2 games in pre-season. He's literally only played 2 games for us and he scored in both games. I think, we'll talk about this later. I think he's likely to start the season just because Brantford's had a little minor surgery a few weeks ago. So I think he's likely to not start the season, and Jacob Ryan will. But yeah, I really like him. I think he's the perfect example of a player that perhaps wouldn't work in certain teams, but he's made for the way that Everton play under Sean Dyche.
Okay.
There we go. Get him in.
Good view. So he's under 23 as well for another year. That's another under 23 player there at Everton. So obviously you think he's good because you give him the full love treatment. This one, I would say, he's one of the signings we've gone through that's actually got decent scores in his recent history compared to some of the others. You're looking back at their previous club before the last one, maybe. He's actually put some decent scores up for Lyon last season. International utility as well. So yeah, he's more of like the solid pick if I'm looking at the ones we've pulled up so far. Yeah, very good. 7 quid for a limited, new season 2 for an old one. Last public sale rare, £26 for the new season one. So good value.
I think he's good value, mate. But I mean, I think he's less good value than the others just purely because I'm not sure what his starts will be over the season. I think he's probably likely to be better value for the season after this one when we potentially sell Brantwaite, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I would say Everton's offensive stacks are usually a half decent thing with the amount of clearances off the line, last man tackles, duels won, effective clearances for rivals, all that stuff.
And actual clean sheets. We were quite good at the back last year.
Exactly, yes.
I know you've made that sound like we're back to the wall all the time, but we're also quite good at the back. So
yeah. So there's the incoming. So the best of the 5 incomings for you from Sorare point of view.
I'm going to go for Iliman and Dye. I think he's priced right now quite low considering how quality I think he is. Okay,
yeah. Forward options, always nice to find a budget forward option. So, okay, we'll move on to the outgoings quickly. I think we've got 3 to go over. Just touch on where they've gone and whether you think they're still a useful card at this new.
Yeah. So start with the first one was Ben Godfrey. Start with Amadou Onana if you'd like. Amadou Onana, the most recent, probably the most high-profile one we've got rid of this season, was rumoured to be leaving for quite a long time. Ended up going to Villa for 50 mil, I think, which I think we can all agree is a good price. I'm pretty happy with that. I do think he's very good, and a lot of people forget he's still really, really young. Villa fans already raving about how good he's looked in pre-season for them. I think he will suit Villa, a team that actually is semi-decent in a good place right now, and he will slot right in for them. So I think he'll do very well for Villa, annoyingly.
International utility as well, showing some decent AA there. Not a lot of peaks. He's quite middle of the road for someone that's, not cheap for like a midfielder, but under 23 utility for a couple more years. Villa on the up. So just needs another little boost to put him into that echelon of higher up players. But Onana, and then we can go on to Ben Godfrey.
Yeah,
this one blew my mind. Like, I thought there was some weird financial get around someone was trying here, because what the fuck is he? How has he gone to Atalanta?
Yeah, it was a bit of a random one. It sort of caught fire really quickly. It was just like rumoured, and then within a couple of days he was there, signing the contract. But I think we ended up getting 10 mil that could rise to 12 or something, which is still about half what we paid for him. But
what have you got on Atalanta? That's mad.
It is a little bit mental, but I'm not quite sure how it will go for him. Maybe it will suit him playing in Italy in slightly lesser paced game, because it is a pacey guy, so he might stand out a bit. I'm not sure. We'll see. I saw Atlanta getting linked with what's his name? Forest fullback who plays for Wales. I've forgotten his name now.
Nico Williams.
Nico Williams, who's the exact same position as Ben Godfrey. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, Ben Godfrey can play centre back as well, but
he is £9 for a limited, for a rare £1.50 for a limited in all season cards if you want to take a punt.
He's cheap, to be fair.
Yeah, he's cheap because he's crap, but you never know. Different country, different team. Maybe it'll bring out the best in him. I doubt it, but maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more. Lewis Dobbin in a completely normal, not dodgy at all, swap deal with Aston Villa, right?
Well, it wasn't a swap deal. We technically both paid each other for it. Rather than just saying, let's just call it quits, we decided to give ourselves a bit of money each.
You had to pay each other separately, didn't you?
Yeah.
No swap when we can just pay each other to get around PSR.
If the Premier League going to screw everyone over, then we're going to find ways to get around it, aren't we? But anyway, sold Dobbin for 9 mil. Really liked Dobbin when he was coming through the youth setup. Sort of got his chance a fair bit last year due to the fact our squad was threadbare all the time. Scored a really good goal against Chelsea, I remember him in particular. But a bit part role. Did very well when he was on loan at Derby the season before last, or maybe it's 2 seasons ago, I can't remember. But obviously went to Villa and then in no dodgy way whatsoever got immediately loaned out to West Brom. So we've talked about it before. I always like it when a player goes to the Championship. You get 46 games, obviously. You get a lot of midweek utility. I think I'm not sure of the West Brom squad, so I'm not going to claim that I know much about what's going on, but I'd imagine he'll get a fair amount of games there. I know he's on the bench immediately after, like a day after signing for West Brom in the first game. So,
he was coming off the bench in the first game.
Yeah, perhaps he'll go well, and he's absolutely rapid as well, which a lot of people don't realise. So I think he'll end up doing pretty well for West Brom.
Yeah, he's not overly expensive. I guess if he catches fire in the Championship and he's an under 23 option that gets 46 game season, loads of midweeks, some double game weeks, I think the Championship get, don't they? Then that would be absolutely incredible. So maybe one to keep an eye on, see if he gets that starting spot nailed down. I think I'm Championship biased, but I think he sneaky could be a good option for, later on in the season.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look at a predicted 11 for the first game of the season, what Everton are going to open up with. I know it might change a bit when players come back and stuff, but everyone likes an expert to lean on to make sure that they get their picks right for the first weekend. So this is your predicted Everton 11 for the first game. You want to talk us through it?
Okay, I've gone for Pickford in goal. I think that's pretty obvious for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Obviously, only just come back from the Euros, but we'll definitely be starting. Right, go Miko left back. We basically don't have a backup left back. Ashley Young is our backup left back, who's a right winger, right back. So interesting. But I think Miko had a bit of an injury, and he's come back and played the last sort of 1 or 2 preseason games and looked semi decent. So I think he'll be starting the season. So
excellent. And then you've picked O'Brien and Tarkowski in the middle.
Yeah, so this is, I mentioned earlier, but Branthwaite hasn't played any part of pre-season yet, just purely because he had a minor groin surgery maybe 4 weeks ago, which it was something he was due to have at the end of the season, but delayed it until we sort of got safety in the Premier League. So, so I think O'Brien will likely start. It could also be Michael Keane. Dyche has been quoted as saying he's been very impressed with Michael Keane in pre-season, but O'Brien's come in and looked really good, 2 goals in 2 games. Probably going to be him, I'd say. Tarkowski nailed, first guy on the team sheet, in my opinion. As mentioned, or as we will mention, Seamus Coleman's picked up an injury, so Tarks will be captain as well. Dangerous in both boxes, get him in your team. Okay.
Very underpriced. Very underpriced.
Exactly.
All time. And then you said no Coleman, which means Young is just.
So this is it's reasonably breaking news. Is that Coleman went off injured in the second half? In the first half, of the last pre-season game at home to Rome on the weekend. It could just be a sort of precaution, but he didn't look particularly happy coming off. I think he was holding the back of his knee or back of his hamstring. And he's 35. So we'll see how that goes. Patterson's
has about 14 weeks to recover now, I guess.
Yeah, Patterson hasn't played any part yet pre-season really yet either, due to being injured at the end of last season. So likely to be Ashley Young, unfortunately. 39-year-old Ashley Young.
Wow, strong. And then in the middle you've gone Gay and Timothy.
Yeah, so as also previously mentioned earlier in the show, Arugbenham has really grabbed his chance, I'd say. It's a tough call. I think it would be James Garner and Idrissa Gueye. James Garner has picked up a little injury as well in pre-season, annoyingly. So I think you're likely to start with Arugbenham, to be honest with you. But we'll see. Idrissa Gueye, I think, is going to be a pretty nailed starter in centre mid for us this year. He's kind of got the experience. He's been through it, been there, done that the last few years with us, and done really well when called upon. So I think it's likely to be him.
Excellent. And then in behind the striker, you've gone McNeil, Decore, Harrison.
Yeah. So McNeil, I think, is a banker. He's going to start probably every game and hopefully do a lot better in terms of getting assists he should have got last year if people can put the ball in the net. So that'd be good. Decore and Harrison here. Something where I think Sean Dyche is
Idrissa Dyche.
I don't know why I said Idrissa Dyche. Sean Dyche loves Decore and Harrison. They work really hard. I don't think there's going to be any reason for them to be dropped based on last season. But I do think give it maybe a month or so, and I think those positions could easily be Ndai and Lindstrom. I think it's going to be Ndai and Lindstrom eventually, but I do think we'll start with Decore and Harrison. I just think work rate wise, they both bring a lot to us at the up top and at the back. They're very much box to box players. Decore is a little bit chaos, can be a little bit kind of loses the ball a lot. AA wise isn't strong on Harrison as well. We'll see, but I think those two will start.
Okay, and then up top, you've gone for DCL. So it's between him and Beto. So it's picking shit or crap, really. So you've gone for crap.
So DCL, I think he brings so much to us when he's fighting fit, and he scored 2 in the last 2 in pre-season. He's looked good. We've just got the looming contract talks with him. It's a little bit up in the air at the moment. He's got 1 year left. He won't quite sign his new contract yet. I don't know what's going on. Beto, I think, has looked pretty decent in pre-season as well. Chermiti, we will be discussing later, but Chermiti's probably looked the best out of all 3 of our strikers in pre-season. However, picks up a really bad foot injury and has had an operation, so he's going to be missing at least the first month of the season.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I own DCL and I give him a lot of stick because, well, rightfully so, he hasn't been very good. But, if he can stay injury-free, he does have it in the locker, so you never know. I do kind of root for him, but in like a comical kind of way. Let's break that down then. This is your starting 11. Some of these, if I was looking at that front section, McNeil's the one that stands out to me. Decore and Harrison, maybe not so much from an SO5 point of view. But if you were building an SO5 stack for the season, Everton, what are you going for? I'm going to just go ahead and add Jordan Pickford in goal. We don't need to go discuss that. But if you're building an SO5 stack, we were looking to spend our pounds. I know Everton were quite a well stacked team. I've seen a lot of people have Everton stacks, Everton cards, I guess because they were cheap when the Premier League competition came out.
I won the Premier League comp with an Everton stack on a full Premier League weekend. So,
I use an Everton stack, so I joke, but yeah, give me the defender then. Where are we going to go with the defender?
So I think there's a few defenders that could be the option here, but I think you've got to go Tarkowski straight off the bat. Never misses a game, touch wood. As I've previously mentioned, dangerous in both boxes, very much has a good chance of last man tackles, clearances off the line, and also created the most big chances of any defenders in the Premier League last season, I think. He's very dangerous from corners, very dangerous from free kicks, is incredibly good in the air. So, Tarkowski's a banker there for me.
Tarkowski, he's been a great card. Scores are so good. I think the market sort of picked up on him eventually, but there was a long period of time where he was so cheap.
I know. I picked up five of him. So
midfielder.
Right. So this is where we get into a little bit of a. I've always been so set on this over the last couple of years of it being James Garner. I really like James Garner. Like, he takes free kicks and corners for us. Obviously, he was okay last season, but he didn't really set the world like I was hoping he would. Then you had Onana as another option. I was like, well, he's good, strong AA, and now he's left. So, it's a tough one, this. You've got Iliman Ndiaye, who... sorry, not Iliman Ndiaye. You've got Irobenham, who hasn't got a card yet. So, I can't really...
I did check for you earlier on. He does count as Everton on actual Sorare.
Does he? Okay.
Sorare data just doesn't yet. But I will allow him to put him in. If you want to put him in, then that's fine.
I think eventually through the season he might be a good option. But I'm going to go for Idrissa Gueye, just purely because... he actually does have very strong AA. He's pretty nailed to start every game, I would say. He is getting on. This centre mid option here in the Sorare SO5 Everton stack could definitely change as the season goes on. Could be Garner, could be Lindstrom. I think maybe get the start pretty soon. But I think just purely for potentially getting a solid 65, 75 every week, go for him.
Okay, forward.
Who do you think I'm going to say for forward? You make me feel.
I mean, this is an easy one for me.
McNeil. Get him in.
I think he's one of the best value players on Sorare. Obviously, don't have under 23 anymore, but yeah,
absolute
really good value, really good player.
Absolute stud. And taking my Everton hat off, and I think taking your sort of mild Everton hat off, he actually is undervalued. Like, if you compare him to other forwards in the Premier League that had similar sort of average scores through last 40 games, you're not going to get much better value in the Premier League than that, like, genuinely.
L5 58, L15 57, L40 of 54.
You're not getting any risk of rotation, really. I don't think he's ever been rotated or been on the bench, apart from when he was been injured. So, and he created, honestly, I watched every freaking Everton game last season, and I probably would say this, but he created so many chances that our strikers just like missed open goals and stuff last year. Like, he was on the cusp of having a much better season last year. Scored 5 or 6 goals, could have scored more, but get him in.
That's the one I would give you. Dwight McNeil, easy pick, undervalued, I think, great player. And you get one more to finish off.
So, to complete the stack, I don't think any Everton stack is complete without a full defensive stack. So I think, contradicting what I've said earlier, I think you're going to go Branthwaite. This isn't a starting stack for this first game of the season, because I think he's going to miss the first game. But get Branthwaite in, I think. Obviously, been a lot of rumours with him going to United. I saw some more rumours appear today of him potentially being chased by United again, despite them signing like De Ligt and the other guy. But I think he's kind of like a little mini Tarkowski in the making. He's, as the season went on last year, he was becoming really good in both boxes as well, in terms of putting his body on the line, goal line clearances, getting a few goals, scored some really important goals for us last season. And he's genuinely a really quality centre-back. That's the stack for me.
That's a stack. Yeah, it looks quite good. I'd like a different midfielder in there, but his recent scores have been good, Gay. So you're limited in options anyway. But yeah, floor prices 250, 250, 10, 8. Keeper's obviously expensive. Pickford is an expensive goalie, so he's always going to be a bit of the stoppage, the block in there. But yeah, rewards when all players play 45% of the time in the last 1 year. Yeah. I think
it's better to bank on an Everton defensive stack than it is to bank on an attacking stack. I mean, we do have a lot more sort of attack-minded players this season than last season, but we're very strong at the back. Dyche just generally falls back into sort of defensive tactics sometimes a little bit, which I'm not complaining about because I think we played really well with them last year. But bank on that clean sheet and then hope for a McNeil assist for a centre-back header. That was my tactics last year.
Yeah, Pickford and double Everton defence is never a bad shout. Okay, so that was your SO5 dream stack for the season. Gay, Tarkowski, Branthwaite, McNeil and Pickford. Before we go, any breakout players we should be keeping an eye out for?
I think in terms of breakout players with Sorare cards, I'm going to go for Chermiti. Now, Chermiti, as I've just mentioned, has really injured his foot, is going to be out for a month. So it could be even more of a breakout because his price has dipped a little bit again. So he's looked really good in preseason. He showed flashes of it last year. He's still really young. He's a guy we signed from Sporting Lisbon on last season. Obviously didn't get many opportunities because we were fighting for our life all the time. But yeah, having watched him play, he has real good quality about him. He's much better at sort of linking up play than Beto, to be honest with you. He's good at finishing, looks really good in pre-season, and he's also a massive shithouse, which I love. He got sent off in the under-21s. He got booked 4 times. He loves it, and I think he's definitely going to be a bit of a fan favourite with Everton if he can get the team. So yeah, watch that space for Portuguese
future fan favourite at Everton. Under 23 for a long time. Yeah. So taking a little punt. He's very cheap. $189 for a classic limited, nearly £6 for the current one. Classic rare is £7.50. So a cheap long-term under 23 punt. Come off the bench a lot last season. And
I would say watch out for Irogbinum cards as well, because I do think he's gonna have a good season for us. So.
Okay, and watch out for Timothy's cards when they finally drop. Hopefully, well, you never know. Hopefully it's soon enough before he breaks out and we can get hold of a couple.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on those. All right, that is quite a lot of Everton talk. It's hurt my soul quite a lot. I've got a few digs in where I can just to keep myself happy. Wore my night shirt for the occasion as well, just to try and bring some balance. But I hope you've got your Everton out of your system for now. Before we go, I will give you one chance, an unbiased prediction for where Everton are going to finish this season.
Okay, so you laughed at me when I said top 10 last year, didn't you?
Yes.
And when I said top 10, I said 10th, if you remember. I said we'll finish top 10, but 10th. We actually finished 12th, or maybe it was 13th, without the points deduction. So I wasn't too far off. I know it's a big if saying if you take off that massive.
Yeah, if you didn't cheat, then you would have finished 12th.
Anyway, but if you just ignore that bollocks that was going on behind the scenes, we had the 12th or 13th, can't remember, the highest points total last season. So I do think that is a positive season if you compare it to the 2 previous seasons before that where we were absolute dog shit. I do think we can do better than that this season. I'm going to go top 10 again, but say 10th.
Okay, so
I think we'll finish between the 10th to 13th range again. I don't think we're going to be battling relegation this year, but if we just ignore Everton and look at how other teams have done in terms of transfer season, there's been some seriously good transfer windows for some clubs, isn't there? So it's going to be a competitive season. We'll see.
Yeah, I will clip up you saying they're going to finish top 10 and use that again. So that's top 10 Everton prediction from Johnny Dore again this season. I think there are some good SO5 possibilities from some Everton players this season, especially at the back. So yeah, I will be rolling out an Everton stack again this weekend. I do try to mock you unceremoniously when it comes to Everton, but I will be running out my Everton stack every week in the Classic Premier League. So we go again. All starts this weekend. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us this evening. Good luck to anyone playing Premier League and daring to run Everton cards for this season. And we will be back with you ever so shortly. Can you please like and subscribe and all that vibe on the way out? We appreciate every single one of you. But for now, over and out. Viva la Thursday Club.
Up the toffees.